To Ottawa now, where the federal government says Google agreed to a deal to pay Canadian media companies $100 million annually for published content on their platforms. This move comes as the Trudeau government's Online News Act will come into effect at the end of the year. Legislation that demands tech giants compensate news companies for their value. Jason Gaijola joins us live tonight with the details. Hey, Jason.
Hey there, Emily. Again, according to Ottawa's projections of the contributions it was expecting from Google, it actually came much shorter than what was expected after weeks of negotiations.
It's new money, new revenue, it's good for the news sector. And the other thing is, if there is a better deal struck elsewhere in the world, Canada reserves the right to reopen the regulation.
Canadian news will remain part of the largest search engine in the world after Ottawa and Google struck a $100 million deal to keep published content available with a new revenue stream.
Strong, independent journalists getting paid for their work, that Google has agreed to properly support journalists, including local journalism. This is a deal, an agreement that is going to resonate around the world.
Canada's Heritage Minister announced the brokered agreement on Parliament Hill today, weeks before the Online News Act was set to go into full effect. The deal is set for the tech giant to pay a news media consortium, which hasn't been formed yet, $100 million every year.
Monetary part, but we're leaving that part of the discussion for the collective and Google to have.
It's unclear which companies or how many will be involved in talks with Google, but the distribution of funds will likely be determined based on the number of journalists employed by each company.
It's really going to be determined on the number of eligible journalists that are providing news online. How they determine who is an eligible journalist is still something that we need to see in terms of the final regulations. So, so we're still looking to see how that's defined.
The federal government faced some backlash for how it implemented legislation following Google's threat to yank news articles last winter, and social media giant Meta ending all legitimate news traffic for Canadians in the summer. During question period, more blowback.
Well, maybe he should just give the media even more money to cover the news how he'd like it, Mr. Speaker, because we know he's so desperate to debate me on the carbon tax, a debate he's been losing badly. With 2 million Canadians forced to go to a food bank, will he stop thinking about buying himself better news coverage and start thinking about the Canadians who have to buy themselves better food?
It's interesting to hear the Conservative leader again attacking the media, particularly on a day where we stood up and arranged a deal with Google to make sure that local journalism, that independent journalism, that the work that our news media is going to do is going to be able to stand the test of time.
The $100 million pact also falls short of Ottawa's original projections of up to $172 million it was expecting to be paid to news organizations.
No matter how far it's spread out, it's going to make a difference. It's not going to be a comprehensive solution for the funding of journalism. That needs to come from a number of areas. It already does in the sense that there's funding from the federal government, but it also needs to come in terms of the success of new business models.
And we did reach out to Google today asking about the new deal, and they tell us that they are happy that the federal government did address some core issues they had with Bill C-18. We also reached out to Meta today and asked if their position has changed since the new Google deal is official, and they tell us that they're maintaining its position, effectively ending real news on its platform in Canada.